What if one country shaped modern art, food, architecture, and even politics for centuries? What if a single nation gave the world the Renaissance, the Roman Empire, pizza, pasta, the concept of opera, some of the most breathtaking cities ever built, and a cultural legacy so powerful that it still echoes through every corner of the globe today? Well, that country exists, and it is very real, and today we are diving deep into one of the most extraordinary places on the face of this earth. Welcome to Italy. Today on Map Dive, we explore the fascinating country of Italy, a land of ancient empires, breathtaking landscapes, and world-famous cities that have captured the hearts and imaginations of travelers, historians, artists, and dreamers for thousands of years. Before we go any further, take a second to picture Rome, with its ancient ruins standing tall against a golden sky. Picture Venice, that impossibly romantic city floating on water, with gondolas gliding silently through narrow canals. Picture Florence, overflowing with Renaissance masterpieces at every turn. And picture the Italian Alps, those magnificent snow-capped mountains stretching across the northern horizon like a painted backdrop from a dream. These are just glimpses, just tiny windows into what Italy truly is. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand why this country is one of the most beloved, most visited, and most culturally significant nations in the entire history of human civilization. So sit back, relax, and let us take you on a journey through the boot of Europe. Let us start with where Italy actually is and what makes its geography so unique and so visually stunning. Italy is located in southern Europe, and it occupies one of the most recognizable shapes of any country on the world map. Yes, we are talking about the famous boot-shaped peninsula that juts dramatically southward into the heart of the Mediterranean Sea. This distinctive shape is not just a fun geographic curiosity. It is actually the reason Italy has been such a crossroads of civilizations for millennia, because the Italian peninsula sits right at the center of the Mediterranean world, surrounded by water on nearly all sides and positioned between the eastern and western halves of the ancient world. To the west of Italy lies the Tyrrhenian Sea, to the east lies the Adriatic Sea, and to the south lies the Mediterranean Sea itself, that vast and storied body of water that has connected Europe, Africa, and Asia since the dawn of recorded history. Italy shares its northern land borders with four countries: France to the northwest, Switzerland and Austria to the north, and Slovenia to the northeast. And it is in this northern region where you find one of Italy's most dramatic and awe-inspiring geographic features, the Alps. The Alps are the highest and most extensive mountain range in Europe, and in Italy they form a great natural wall across the entire northern edge of the country, with peaks that soar above 4,000 meters and glaciers that have shaped the landscape over millions of years. The Italian Alps are not just breathtakingly beautiful, they have also played a crucial role in Italian history, acting as a natural barrier that both protected the Italian peninsula from northern invasions and defined the cultural and political character of the region for centuries. Running down the spine of the Italian peninsula from north to south is another major mountain range, the Apennine Mountains. Unlike the Alps, which are concentrated in the north, the Apennines stretch for nearly 200 kilometers, all the way from Liguria in the northwest down through the entire length of the peninsula to the very tip of the boot in Calabria, and they even continue beneath the Strait of Messina and into the island of Sicily. The Apennines divide Italy's eastern and western coastlines and have historically created distinct regional identities on either side of the mountains, which is one of the reasons why Italy is such a culturally diverse country, with different dialects, cuisines, traditions, and even architectural styles from one region to the next. Between the Alps and the Apennines lies the Po Valley, also known as the Pianura Padana, which is the largest plain in Italy and home to the country's most fertile agricultural land. The Po River, which is the longest river in Italy at around 652 kilometers, flows eastward through this valley from its source in the Alps all the way to the Adriatic Sea, and along its banks you find some of Italy's most productive farmland, as well as major industrial cities like Turin and Milan. The Po Valley is essentially the economic engine of northern Italy, and its agricultural output feeds not just Italy, but much of Europe. And then there are the islands. Italy's two largest islands are Sicily and Sardinia, and both are absolutely remarkable in their own right. Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea, sitting just off the toe of the Italian boot, separated from the mainland by the narrow Strait of Messina. Sicily is a place of extraordinary contrasts, where ancient Greek temples stand alongside, Norman cathedrals, where volcanic landscapes meet turquoise coastlines, and where the influences of Greek, Roman, Arab, Norman, and Spanish civilizations have blended together over thousands of years to create one of the most culturally rich and historically layered regions in the world. And looming over it all is Mount Etna, Europe's tallest and most active volcano, which we will talk more about later. Sardinia, on the other hand, is Italy's second largest island, located in the western Mediterranean, west of the Italian mainland and south of the French island of Corsica. Sardinia is known for its stunning natural beauty, its crystal clear turquoise waters, its rugged interior landscapes, and its ancient nuragic civilization, which left behind thousands of mysterious stone, towers called nuraghi, that dot the island's landscape like silent sentinels from a forgotten age. Together, Sicily and Sardinia add an extra layer of geographic and cultural richness to Italy that makes this country even more diverse and fascinating than its mainland alone could ever be. Now, let us talk about the people who call this magnificent country home, because Italy is not just about landscapes and ancient ruins. It is about the 59 million people who live there, who carry the traditions, the passions, and the spirit of one of the world's great civilizations into the modern age. Italy has a population of approximately 59 million people, making it the fourth most populous country in the European Union, after Germany, France, and Spain. The vast majority of the population is ethnically Italian, though, like all modern European nations, Italy is home to a growing number of immigrants and minority communities, particularly from Eastern Europe, North Africa, South Asia, and East Asia. The official language of Italy is Italian, which is a Romance language descended from Latin and is spoken as a first language by the overwhelming majority of the population. Italian is also one of the most widely studied and admired languages in the world, celebrated for its musicality, its elegance, and its close connection to the arts, particularly opera, classical music, and literature. But while Standard Italian is the official language of the country, Italy is also home to a remarkable variety of regional dialects and minority languages, including Venetian, Neapolitan, Sicilian, Sardinian, and many others, which reflect the country's long history of regional diversity and independent city-states. In terms of religion, Italy is predominantly Roman Catholic, and the influence of the Catholic Church on Italian culture, history, art, and politics cannot be overstated. For centuries, the Catholic Church was not just a religious institution in Italy, but a major political and cultural power, shaping everything from the laws of the land to the art that adorned its buildings to the festivals and traditions that punctuate Italian life throughout the year. Today, while Italy remains a secular democratic republic and church attendance has declined in recent decades, Catholicism is still deeply woven into the fabric of Italian identity, from the countless churches and cathedrals that define the skylines of Italian cities to the religious festivals that bring communities together in celebration across the country. And of course, Italy is home to Vatican City, the tiny independent city-state that serves as the headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church and the residence of the Pope, which we will explore in more detail when we talk about tourism and landmarks. But perhaps what defines Italian people more than anything else is their culture, their values, and their way of life. Italy is famously a family-oriented society, where strong bonds between parents, children, grandparents, and extended family members form the foundation of social life. Sunday lunch, with the entire family gathered around a table loaded with food, is not just a cliche in Italy. It is a genuine and deeply cherished tradition that persists across generations and across all regions of the country. Italians are also famous for their passion, their warmth, their expressiveness, and their deep appreciation for the good things in life. Whether it is food, fashion, art, music, football, or simply the pleasure of a perfectly made espresso enjoyed standing at a bar in the morning sunshine. Italians have an almost unparalleled ability to find joy and beauty in everyday life, and this quality, this dolce vita, or sweet life, is perhaps the most powerful and enduring cultural export Italy has ever given the world. Now let us explore the cities, because Italy's cities are not just places to live or to visit. They are living museums, breathing testaments to thousands of years of human creativity, ambition, and achievement. Let us start with Rome, the eternal city, the capital of Italy, and one of the most historically significant cities in the entire world. Rome was founded, according to legend, in 753 BC, and for centuries it was the center of the greatest empire the Western world had ever seen. At its peak, the Roman Empire stretched from Britain in the northwest to Mesopotamia in the east, from the Rhine River in the north to the Sahara Desert in the south, encompassing hundreds of millions of people across dozens of modern-day countries. And at the heart of all of this was Rome, a city of magnificent temples, towering aqueducts, vast public baths, bustling forums, and grand amphitheaters. Today, walking through Rome is like walking through layers of history, where ancient ruins sit side by side with Renaissance palaces and Baroque fountains, where you can stand in the shadow of the Colosseum, that iconic 2,000-year-old amphitheater where gladiators once fought before crowds of 80,000 spectators, and feel the weight of history pressing down on you with an almost physical force. Rome today is a modern, vibrant city of nearly 3 million people, but it wears its ancient past with extraordinary grace, and every corner you turn reveals another monument, another church, another fountain, another piece of the long and extraordinary story of Western civilization. Then there is Milan, Italy's second largest city and its economic powerhouse, a place that could not be more different from Rome in character and atmosphere. Where Rome is ancient and romantic, Milan is modern and ambitious, a sleek, fast-paced cosmopolitan city that looks more towards the future than the past. Milan is the financial capital of Italy, home to the country's most important stock exchange, its largest banks, and its most powerful corporations, and it is also, without any question, the fashion capital of the world. Twice a year, Milan Fashion Week brings together the greatest designers, models, photographers, and tastemakers from every corner of the globe, and the city's fashion district, known as the Quadrilatero della Moda, is home to the flagship stores of some of the most famous luxury brands in history. But Milan is not just about money and fashion. It is also a city of extraordinary cultural depth, home to Leonardo. Da Vinci's Last Supper, one of the most famous paintings in the world, the magnificent Gothic cathedral known as the Duomo di Milano, which took nearly 6 centuries to complete, and La Scala, one of the world's most celebrated opera houses, where the greatest singers and composers of the past 3 centuries have performed to audiences of devoted music lovers. Venice is something else entirely, a city so improbable, so magical, and so utterly unlike anywhere else on Earth that even the most seasoned travelers find themselves stopping and simply staring in disbelief when they see it for the first time. Venice is a city built on water, literally constructed on a series of 118 small islands in a lagoon in northeastern Italy, connected by a network of more than 400 bridges, and traversed not by cars or buses, but by boats, gondolas, and water taxis. There are no roads in the historic center of Venice, no cars, no motorcycles, no bicycles. The streets are canals, and the sound of the city is the gentle lapping of water against ancient stone walls, the splash of oars, and the distant echo of footsteps on cobblestone bridges. Venice was for centuries one of the most powerful maritime republics in the world, a city of immense wealth and influence whose merchants and traders controlled much of the trade between Europe and the East. That wealth is still visible everywhere you look in Venice, in the gorgeous Gothic palaces that line the Grand Canal, in the golden mosaics of St. Mark's Basilica, and in the magnificent Doge's Palace, where the rulers of the Venetian Republic once held court. Today, Venice is one of the most visited tourist destinations in the entire world, attracting millions of visitors every year, and it faces serious challenges from over-tourism, rising sea levels, and the gradual subsidence of its foundations into the lagoon. But even with all of these challenges, Venice remains one of the most extraordinary and irreplaceable places on the planet. Florence, or Firenze in Italian, is the 4th of Italy's great cities that we must talk about, and in some ways it is the most culturally significant of all because Florence was the birthplace of the Renaissance, that extraordinary explosion of art, science, philosophy, and humanist thought that transformed European civilization in the 14th, 15th, and 16th centuries and laid the foundations for the modern world. It was in Florence that artists like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Botticelli, and Raphael created works of art of such breathtaking beauty and technical mastery that they are still considered the pinnacle of human artistic achievement more than 5 centuries later. It was in Florence that architects like Brunelleschi revolutionized the art of building with innovations like the dome of the Florence Cathedral, an engineering marvel that still dominates the city's skyline today. And it was in Florence that thinkers like Dante, Petrarch, and Machiavelli wrote works of literature and political philosophy that shaped the intellectual life of the Western world for centuries. Today, Florence is a city of about 370,000 people, compact and entirely walkable, and it is essentially one giant open-air museum with world-class art galleries like the Uffizi and the Accademia, stunning churches and palaces on every street, a skyline that has barely changed in 500 years. Let us now travel back in time and take a quick journey through the history of Italy, because to understand Italy today, you absolutely have to understand where it came from. The story of Italy as a center of civilization begins with the Romans. The Roman civilization grew from a small settlement on the banks of the Tiber River in central Italy into the greatest empire the ancient world had ever seen, and its impact on the development of Western civilization is almost impossible to overstate. Roman law forms the basis of legal systems across Europe and beyond. The Latin language evolved into Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian, and influenced English profoundly. Roman engineering gave us roads, aqueducts, and architectural techniques that we still use today. Roman political concepts like the Republic, the Senate, and the idea of citizenship shaped the political institutions of the modern world. And Roman culture, art, literature, and philosophy formed the backbone of the Western intellectual tradition. The Roman Empire reached its peak in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, when it controlled a territory of around 5 million square kilometers and governed a population of perhaps 70 million people. Its fall in the 5th century AD, when waves of barbarian invasions from the north finally overwhelmed the weakened empire, was one of the most consequential events in world history, ushering in the period known as the Middle Ages and fragmenting the Italian peninsula into a collection of competing kingdoms, city-states, and territories that would remain politically divided for more than 1,000 years. Then came the Renaissance. Beginning in Florence in the 14th century and spreading across Italy and then across Europe over the following 2 centuries, the Renaissance was an extraordinary cultural and intellectual movement that drew inspiration from the rediscovered texts and art of ancient Greece and Rome, and used them as a springboard for a revolutionary new vision of human potential, human creativity, and the relationship between humanity and the world. The Renaissance transformed every field of human endeavor, from painting and sculpture to architecture, music, literature, science, and philosophy, and it produced some of the greatest works of art and thought in the history of human civilization. Italy was the undisputed center of the Renaissance world, and the cities of Florence, Rome, Venice, and Milan were its great stages, where artists and thinkers competed for the patronage of powerful families like the Medici of Florence and the Sforza of Milan. The legacy of the Italian Renaissance is visible everywhere in Italy today, from the paintings in the Uffizi Gallery to the dome of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, and it represents perhaps Italy's single greatest contribution to the cultural heritage of humanity. The story of modern Italy begins in the 19th century with the Risorgimento, the movement for Italian unification. For centuries, the Italian peninsula had been divided into a patchwork of independent states, kingdoms, and territories, many of them under foreign domination, including the Austrians in the north and the Spanish in the south. The Risorgimento, driven by romantic nationalist ideology and the military campaigns of figures like Giuseppe Garibaldi and Count Cavour, culminated in the unification of Italy as a single nation-state in 1861, with the Kingdom of Italy officially proclaimed and Victor Emmanuel II crowned as its first king. Italy went through enormous upheavals in the 20th century, including the trauma of 2 world wars, the rise and fall of Mussolini's fascist dictatorship, and a post-war economic miracle that transformed the country from a largely agricultural society into one of the most advanced industrial economies in the world. Today, Italy is a democratic republic, established by the Constitution of 1948, and a founding member of the European Union, NATO, and the G7, playing an important role in European and global affairs. Now, let us talk about the economy, because Italy is not just a beautiful country. It is also the 3rd largest economy in the Eurozone and the 8th largest in the world by nominal GDP. Italy's economy is diverse and sophisticated, built on a foundation of world-renowned industries that have made Italian products synonymous with quality, style, and innovation across the globe. Perhaps no industry defines Italy's economic identity more powerfully than fashion. Italy is the global capital of luxury fashion, home to some of the most iconic and prestigious fashion houses in history. Gucci, Prada, Versace, Armani, Dolce & Gabbana, Valentino, Fendi, Bulgari. These are not just brands, they are cultural institutions, symbols of Italian craftsmanship, elegance, and style that are recognized and coveted in every corner of the world. The Italian fashion industry generates tens of billions of euros in revenue every year and employs hundreds of thousands of people, from the master craftsmen and tailors who create the garments to the designers, marketers, and retailers who bring them to consumers around the world. Tourism is another pillar of the Italian economy, and it is not hard to understand why. Italy is consistently ranked as one of the most visited countries in the world, attracting tens of millions of tourists every year who come to experience its art, history, food, landscapes, and cities. From the ancient ruins of Rome to the canals of Venice, from the art galleries of Florence to the beaches of Sardinia, from the vineyards of Tuscany to the cliffs of the Amalfi Coast, Italy offers an almost overwhelming abundance of experiences for every kind of traveler. And then there is the automobile industry. Italy is home to some of the most famous and celebrated car brands in the world, names that make car lovers' hearts race at the mere mention of them. Ferrari, Lamborghini, Maserati, Alfa Romeo. These are not just car manufacturers. They are symbols of passion, performance, and Italian engineering excellence, and they occupy a unique place in the global cultural imagination that no other country's automotive industry can quite match. And now we come to food, glorious Italian food, because no discussion of Italy would be complete without talking at length about the extraordinary culinary tradition that Italy has given to the world. Italian cuisine is arguably the most universally beloved food culture on earth, and for very good reason. It combines the highest quality ingredients with techniques that have been refined over centuries, and it celebrates simplicity, freshness, and regional diversity in a way that is almost unique in the world of food. Let us start with pizza, which originated in Naples in the 18th century and has since conquered. The entire world. A true Neapolitan pizza, made with simple ingredients, San Marzano tomatoes, fresh mozzarella di bufala, basil, and a thin crust baked in a wood-fired oven, is one of the great pleasures of human existence, and the fact that pizza has become one of the most consumed foods on the planet is a testament to the genius of the Neapolitan bakers who invented it. Then there is pasta, which comes in hundreds of shapes and forms across Italy's different regions, from the long spaghetti and linguine of the south to the stuffed tortellini and ravioli of the north, each region with its own signature sauces, and preparations that reflect local ingredients, traditions, and history. And of course, there is gelato, Italy's answer to ice cream, which is denser, creamier, and more intensely flavored than its American or British counterparts, and which represents the pinnacle of the frozen dessert art form. But Italian. Cuisine is so much more than pizza, pasta, and gelato. It encompasses a vast and endlessly varied world of regional specialties, from the seafood dishes of Sicily and the truffle-infused pastas of Umbria, to the risottos of Lombardy and the cured meats of Emilia-Romagna. And exploring Italian food in depth could occupy a lifetime of delicious research. Italy's cultural contributions extend far beyond food, of course. Italian art has shaped the visual culture of the Western world like no other national tradition, from the Byzantine mosaics of Ravenna to the Renaissance masterpieces of the Uffizi, from the Baroque sculptures of Bernini to the Futurista, paintings of the early 20th century. Italian music gave the world opera, that magnificent art form that combines music, drama, and spectacle in a way that is uniquely Italian in its passion and emotional power. Composers like Verdi, Puccini, Rossini, and Vivaldi created music of such power and beauty that it is still performed to packed concert halls and opera houses around the world every night. And Italian architecture, from the ancient temples of Sicily and the basilicas of Rome to the Gothic cathedrals of Milan and the Renaissance palaces of Florence, represents one of the greatest and most enduring achievements in the history of human building. Let us now turn to tourism and the great landmarks that draw millions of visitors to Italy every year. The Colosseum in Rome is perhaps the most iconic structure in the entire country, a massive elliptical amphitheater completed in 80 AD that could hold up to 80,000 spectators and was the site of gladiatorial combat, wild animal hunts, public executions, and theatrical performances for nearly 5 centuries. Today, the Colosseum is one of the most visited tourist attractions in the world, welcoming millions of visitors every year, and it remains a breathtaking testament to the engineering genius and the spectacle, loving nature of ancient Roman civilization. Not far from the Colosseum is Vatican City, the smallest country in the world at just 44 hectares, an independent city-state entirely enclosed within the city of Rome and home to the Pope, the central government of the Roman Catholic Church, and some of the greatest artistic treasures in human history. St. Peter's Basilica, with its magnificent dome designed by Michelangelo, is the largest church in the world and one of the most awe-inspiring buildings ever constructed. The Sistine Chapel, with its ceiling painted by Michelangelo between 1508 and 1512, is home to what many consider the greatest work of art ever created by a single human being, a ceiling, painting of such complexity, beauty, and spiritual power that it leaves virtually every visitor speechless. And the Vatican Museum's house one of the largest and most important art collections in the world, accumulated over centuries of papal patronage. Then there's the Leaning Tower of Pisa, one of the most recognizable structures in the world, a medieval bell tower in the Tuscan city of Pisa that began to lean during its construction in the 12th century due to the soft ground on one side of its foundation, the lean, which reached its maximum of nearly 4. Degrees before engineers stabilized the structure in the 1990s and early 2000s, gives the tower its unique and instantly recognizable character, and it attracts millions of tourists every year who come to photograph themselves pretending to push it or hold it up in the classic tourist pose. Beyond these iconic landmarks, Italy is a country where extraordinary historical and artistic treasures are essentially everywhere. The Valley of the Temples in Sicily, the catacombs of Rome, the painted caves of Altamira, the medieval hill towns of Tuscany and Umbria, the Baroque architecture of Lecce, the Greek ruins of Paestum, the hydrogeological wonderland of the Blue Grotto in Capri. Everywhere you turn in Italy, there is something extraordinary to discover. And now for some of the most fascinating facts about Italy. Because this is a country full of surprises and superlatives, Italy holds more UNESCO World Heritage Sites than any other country in the world, with 58 sites, as of the most recent count, ranging from ancient archaeological sites and historic city centers to natural landscapes and cultural traditions. This remarkable number reflects the extraordinary density and diversity of Italy's cultural and natural heritage, and the fact that virtually every corner of the country contains something of outstanding universal value. Italy is also a country that sits on significant geological fault lines and volcanic activity. The country is home to 3 active volcanoes, Etna on Sicily, Stromboli in the Aeolian Islands, and Vesuvius near Naples. Mount Etna is the tallest active volcano in Europe, standing at over 300 meters, and it erupts with remarkable frequency, making it one of the most studied volcanoes in the world. Mount Vesuvius is famous for its catastrophic eruption in 79 AD, which buried the Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum under meters of volcanic ash and pumice, preserving them in extraordinary detail and giving us one of the most vivid and poignant windows into the daily life of the ancient world. Pompeii today is one of the most important and moving archaeological sites on Earth, where you can walk the streets of a 2,000-year-old city, see the casts of the people who were buried alive by the eruption, and feel the terrible power of nature and the fragility of human civilization in a way that is unlike anything else. Italy is also famous for being the home of the most famous road race in the world, the Mille Miglia, for producing some of the greatest football players and coaches in history, including names like Paolo Maldini, Roberto Baggio, and Francesco Totti, and for having one of the most passionate football cultures on the planet, where rivalries between clubs like Juventus, Inter Milan, and AC Milan are followed with an intensity that borders on the religious. Italy has also given the world the piano, the violin, the double bass, the opera, the espresso machine, the battery, the telephone, the thermometer, eyeglasses, the newspaper, the university, and the concept of the bank, among countless other inventions, and innovations that have shaped the modern world. And Italy is home to the oldest university in the world, the University of Bologna, founded in 1088, which has been educating students continuously for nearly 1,000 years. So as we come to the end of our journey through Italy, let us take a moment to reflect on what we have discovered. Italy is more than just a country. It is a place where ancient history, breathtaking geography, and vibrant culture come together to create one of the most fascinating, most beautiful, and most consequential places on Earth. It is a country that has shaped the world in ways both large and small, from the laws that govern us to the food we eat, from the art that moves us to the music that stirs our souls. It is a place of extraordinary contradictions and rich complexities, where the ancient and the modern coexist in a sometimes uneasy but always fascinating embrace, where timeless traditions meet cutting-edge creativity, where the weight of history is balanced by the joy of the present moment. From the snow-capped peaks of the Alps to the sun-drenched shores of Sicily, from the eternal city of Rome to the floating dream world of Venice, from the Renaissance galleries of Florence to the fashion runways of Milan, Italy is a country that rewards exploration, that repays every visit with new discoveries, and that leaves every traveler richer, happier, and more in love with the sheer, improbable beauty of the world we live in. Italy is not just a destination. It is an experience, a feeling, a state of mind, an invitation to slow down, to look more closely, to eat more passionately, to live more fully. And that, perhaps, is the greatest gift this extraordinary country has given to humanity. The example of a civilization that, through all its triumphs and tragedies, has never stopped believing in the power of beauty, the importance of art, and the joy of being alive. If you enjoyed exploring Italy with MapDive, make sure to like and subscribe for more geography adventures, because the world is full of extraordinary places waiting to be discovered, and we're just getting started.